Bring on the drama. Actually, I feel like I need to do jazz hands when I do that. Drama. So it's all about apparently high school crushes and the drama that ensues when you're there. So if we can start off, I'm just going to go down the line and I have my authors give their name, a little bio, and talk about the book that we're talking about today. And then I like to throw out a little curveball icebreaker. So if your writing style is the food, what would it be? And starting with Kate Bryant.
Hi, I'm Kate Bryant. I write the Private and Privilege series, which actually both came to a close last spring. The Private book series lasted 14 books, so that's the one I'm talking about today, the 14th and final Private novel. It was really fun to write. It took about 5 years to knock all those books out, and it was just one of the most amazing work experiences I've ever had. I'm sad it's over, but I'm also excited to move on to the next thing. And if my writing style were a food, it would have to be something super juicy, like a pomegranate, I think.
I think
that's what it would be.
And healthy for you, with antioxidants.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Rachel Hawkins. I'm the author of the Hex Hall series. The second book in that series, Demon Glass, just came out in March, so that's kind of what I'll be talking about today. The third book, Spellbound, comes out coming up next March. I'm trying to think if my writing style were a food. Does anyone in here watch iCarly? I have a small child, so okay, yeah, so it's okay if you don't have a small child and you watch iCarly. I'm not going to judge.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, but one of the things that they eat a lot of the time that her brother makes for her is spaghetti tacos. So I think if my writing style were a food, it would be spaghetti tacos. There's a little bit of everything, and it's a little weird. So yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Hi, my name is Christopher Grant, and my book is Teenies. My first novel. Took me about 10 years to write it. I feel privileged and blessed to be on stage with these wonderful women, of course Karsten as well. If I had to describe my story, it's the funny stuff that happens in a West Indian family meets an after-school special. And if I had to pick a food, I would say lasagna. It's really messy, but it's just really good in the end. So.
I love it. So if we all have one thing in common, is that we were writing from high school, that awful abyss of despair and woe. So I thought it'd be fun if you talked a bit about your own high school experience and how that translated or didn't translate into a book.
Basically, the things that I used from my high school experience in Private were that I grew up in a really, really wealthy town, but I was one of the least wealthy people there. So I was always going to school with these kids who got cars for their 17th birthdays, who wore all these designer clothes, who just seemed to have every single thing handed to them, and I never had that. I was always wearing hand-me-downs or, you know, the cheap $5 jeans from Kmart or whatever, and I couldn't keep up with the Joneses, basically. So that, I've kind of translated that into my character Reed, who comes from this, you know, no-name town in Pennsylvania, and she ends up at this really exclusive private high school in Connecticut. So she has all these feelings of inadequacy and all this kind of stuff that she can't keep up with the really cool girls at Easton. So I was able to definitely use those experiences. I also have a father who's an alcoholic, and Reed's mom who is a drug addict, so I was able to use those experiences as well. The things that are different about Private are there's a lot of murder and kidnapping and mayhem and stalking and things like that, and luckily I had none of that in my high school experience, so that was all made up. That was all from the imagination.
I'm from Alabama, and I know I've like really disappointed everyone this whole week with like not having a really aggressive Southern accent. So I'm thinking that I need to start putting one on, and then people will maybe feel better. But I can't do it for very long. It sounds like I'm like doing my impression of my mom. I went to a very small high school, and I went to one of those schools where it's like 3-year-old preschool all the way through 12th grade. And I started there in kindergarten. So I never really had that sense of like being an outsider, like a new school. It was always the same school, and it was the same people. I graduated in a class of 33, and I'd known most all of them since kindergarten. So there weren't like really cliques or anything like that, because we were all just like one giant dysfunctional family, which holds true now. Whenever I end up like at a wedding for someone I went to high school with, it's just like a really terrible family reunion where everybody drinks like a little too much, but then is like, hey, remember that time in 9th grade biology when I asked you to be my lab partner and you said no? And then we cry and hug. But anyway, so when I sat down to write Hex Hall, Hexhall follows the story of a girl named Sophie Mercer who is 16, who's been to something like 18 schools in her life because she's moved around so much. And there ends up being a really good reason for why she moved around so much, having to do with all sorts of like supernatural powers and demons and what have you. So I really wanted to write a character who had a very different high school experience than I had had. So Sophie is always the new girl. She's permanently the new girl, where I never sort of got that. And so I think that, in a weird way, it's like I wanted to write the opposite of my own high school experience. Although I suspect that a few of my classmates were witches. Some of them most definitely, at least one demon in there, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that was mine.
Martine Lashley, who's my main character, actually attends my alma mater. I went to Brooklyn Technical High School, and after we come out from underneath the tent, I can point out the awesome antenna where we used to talk to the troops in, not Afghanistan, Iraq, the first war. Her life, or her experience in high school, it can mirror mine to some extent, but obviously, you know, I'm too much facial hair to be a girl. But a lot of the things that I went through in high school, some of the teachers that I had, a lot of my friends are represented in this story, and it was awesome to write, and it was great to write about high school and be able to set it in my school.
Awesome. So I sort of freaked out a little bit when I saw the book list for the